The Capitol could have saved Peeta's leg, and they chose not to, and the reason they chose not to was to punish him for his role in breaking the rules at the end of the 74th Hunger Games. Also, I'm perennially annoyed that they made the choice in the movies to not have that representation of Peeta as a disabled person, of Peeta as somebody with a prosthetic. I think that that is so important to the literal plot of the second book, at the very least. And also just, like, as a point of representation, that rebellions have costs. And, like, obviously, yes, the cost later is Peeta's brain and personality over the course of the hijacking. But still, the idea that Peeta just, like, magically is unpunished, that doesn't sit right with me. Because, yes, Peeta was not the ringleader of troublemaking the same way that Katniss was, and would not have been viewed that way to Snow. But that doesn't mean that Peeta wasn't a threat. And if the folks leading the rebellion over in District 13 could pick up on that, absolutely Snow could too. And I'm very much a proponent of this theory that as much as Katniss has things in common with Lucy Gray, the person that she would remind Snow the most of is Sejanus, because she's very concerned with doing what is right and doing what is moral and making the choices that will save people, whereas Peeta knows how to work a crowd. Peeta's absolutely the guy who, if he just talked long enough on a Capitol stage, would have people turning to his side of things. We see it time and time again. If Peeta reminds Snow of anybody, it's Lucy Gray. I also think it's worth noting, from the beginning of the Hunger Games, Peeta is much closer to voicing rebellious thoughts than Katniss is. When they're up on the roof and they're talking before they go into the games, Katniss is sitting there like, this is gonna be really hard. I'm not gonna survive tomorrow. And in the meantime, Peeta is sitting there having these deep philosophical thoughts about not wanting to be a piece in the games and making sure that when he goes out, it's on his own terms. The eventual rebellion that they managed to pull off in their own games, the thing with the berries, that is so much more in keeping with Peeta and his actions and personality than it has been with Katniss's up until that point. That choice is really her deciding to join Peeta's little mini rebellion more than it is her choosing to start her own rebellion. Snow's not stupid. He knows a threat or a weakness when he sees one, and Peeta is a threat. The reason why he's so hell-bent on punishing Katniss throughout Catching Fire, some of that has to do with Katniss having become the symbol of the rebellion, absolutely, sure. I think a lot of it is that he knows that by punishing Katniss, he is punishing Peeta. He doesn't have to go after Peeta directly because he knows how much Peeta cares about Katniss. Anyway, back to my original point. I think that the Capitol absolutely had the medical resources and the methods to fix Peeta's leg. They have medicine. They have all kinds of medicine. They have super fancy, super technologically advanced medicine. They fully repaired Katniss's hearing, because another thing that the movies don't really go into, Katniss is fully deaf in one ear after blowing up all of the career's supplies. She cannot hear out of one entire side of her head. And the Capitol fixes it. Her hearing is perfect, maybe even better, after they go in and fix it. The Capitol has all kinds of fancy medical tools and advancements. I'm willing to bet they could have saved Peeta's leg. They chose not to, so that he has a marker of what he's been through. He has a marker of knowing that he has been irreparably damaged by the games well before he is later semi-reparably damaged by the hijacking. Generally speaking, I think that people don't give Peeta enough credit for being not only a victor of the games in his own right, but also for the way in which he's able to manipulate Capitol systems. And I think that the general disregard for what happens to his leg and why really does sort of fit into that. Anyway, it's just my 2 cents. Let me know in the comments what you think.